what's the difference between gentle parenting and attachment parenting? I'm asked this quite a lot because I think on first glance they seem kind of similar. So people tend to think they're the same things. I think if any parenting is deemed slightly alternative or different to the norm, then you tend to find that the media tend to bunch them all up into the sort of the crunchy alternative umbrella together. So what is the difference? Well, attachment parenting, twofold, came from the work of John Bowlby and his peers who studied attachment theory in the after the sort of 40s, 60s, 50s, 60s sort of time period, and his contemporaries like Mary Ainsworth. So they first of all looked into the importance of attachment between parent and child, particularly with an emphasis on how separation affected children after the Second World War. And I think you probably didn't hear a huge amount of that in mainstream parenting circles until the Sears. A couple from America, Bill and Martha Sears, Dr. Sears, came along and introduced us to the idea of attachment parenting. Now, attachment parenting, again, puts attachment and that connection, not necessarily physical, but that emotional connection between children and their parents and carers at the heart of everything that parents do. So the Sears introduced us to what they call the 7Bs, which is the 7Bs are birth or birth bonding, breastfeeding, baby wearing, bedding close to the baby, which you or I may know as co-sleeping or bed sharing, belief in the baby's cries, balance and boundaries, and beware of baby trainers. I think they're all great. Certainly things I've done in all of my parenting. When I had my first child 23 years ago now, I appreciated very much the work of Sears. How does it differ to gentle parenting? Well, both of them really centre the child at the heart of everything. They consider how the child feels. I think gentle parenting goes a bit further and also considers how the adult feels. So I myself do a lot of work on how it feels to be a parent, particularly a mother, because I'm a mother, and how our own childhoods impact on how we are with our children today. So for me, I think there's maybe a little bit more centering of the parent, of the adult's experience, and it's less about the specifics you do. So for instance, in gentle parenting, you don't have to breastfeed at all. So yes, we might talk about there might be some benefits for breastfeeding, certainly physical and psychological as well, but ultimately it isn't about how the baby is fed. It's just about the nurturance that happens, and you can absolutely be 100% nurturing when you're formula feeding your baby as well. So, or you could be breastfeeding, giving breast milk from a bottle. You could be using a supplementary nursing system. You could be using donor milk, or you could just be using formula milk from the bottle. But the key is not what's in that milk or how it's given to the baby. The key is in the connection with the baby, and that when you do feed them, you're feeding them mindfully and respectfully at their pace, and you're feeding them when they're hungry, not when a book tells you that they should be fed. In terms of where they sleep, well, yes, some babies really need to bed share. I'm a great proponent of that, but some of them are also really happy in a cot. Some toddlers sleep much better in their own bedroom than they do in your bed. So with gentle parenting, it isn't necessarily about where they sleep. It's about that connection and honouring your child's cues and needs, but also considering your own too. If your child sleeps much better when they're bed sharing, but you don't sleep at all and you're very, very nervous or very anxious, or it just really impacts your sleep, on a whole, you'll be much more of a stressy, angry, tired parent than if you're getting a bit more sleep and they're sleeping probably quite happy next to you in a Moses basket, or if they're a little bit older in their own room. There are gentle ways that you can transition sleep. So it isn't so much about the close physical proximity, more about that connection and then that deep respect for the child, but also understanding that actually, do you know what? Most babies and young toddlers really do need to be near their parents to sleep, to get the best sleep possible. And if that is your child and you can do that, then that's brilliant. You're honouring their needs and you're honouring your instincts as well. You don't have to baby wear. Again, I'm a huge fan of baby wearing. I wore all my 4 own babies, but I also used a pram and a buggy sometimes. And sometimes, that's just what you needed to do. Particularly when I was going out, I had 4 children, all under the age of 4, and I couldn't carry them all. I had to use a double buggy, or I had to use a little trike, or sometimes they had to walk along and hold my hand, or be whatever, be on a buggy board or something. And as much as I would have liked to have carried them all, my back really couldn't have coped with carrying 4 big children all at once. So again, it isn't necessarily about the physical proximity of it. It's much more about meeting their needs. So if your child needs to be held, then hold them as much as you can, and a sling is a great way to do that. But equally, if they're happy in a pram, then prams are cool. Just, you know, try and get them parent facing so that you've got that connection still happening. Believe in the baby's cries, bonding at birth, balancing boundaries, 100%, totally 100% gentle parenting. Beware of the baby trainers, yeah, absolutely on board with all of that too. So I really like attachment parenting principles, and there's a huge amount of similarity between attachment parenting and gentle parenting. The big difference, I think, is gentle parenting is perhaps more psychological rather than the sort of the physical ways you do it. So it doesn't really matter how you do things. There are people from all walks of life, numerous numbers of children, doesn't matter where you come from in the world, doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter whether you work full time, whether you stay at home, whether you breastfeed, whether you formula feed. It isn't about that. It's about that psychological respect, trust in your instincts, and honouring your child, really. So not a huge amount of difference, I would say, in their aims, but a little bit of difference in the way that you actually do it. I hope that made sense to you. If you'd like to learn more, my The Gentle Parenting book covers all the basics of gentle parenting. I'd also love you to hit the subscribe button if you found this helpful. I release a video every week. And finally, drop me a comment. I'd love to hear what you say. Thanks for tuning in.